people that own businesses and stuff that are successful, sometimes the biggest challenge they have is since they are dependent on their decision making, when they are being told that the decision they made was poor, it's hard for them to accept it. Whenever a client makes a mistake, let's say they buy something they should have bought, a lot of times they will say that was my fault. They'll blame themselves. It's not their fault. And I'm the person telling them. I tell them, it's not their fault. They presented it to you such a way that it looked good. Okay? They didn't tell you exactly how it really works. So my job is to tell you exactly how it works, and then you can make an informed decision. So that first hurdle you got to get over with most human beings is they have to be willing to accept that they made a mistake. And once you can get to that point, then they're willing to change. If they don't come to that conclusion, they won't change. IULs are very popular right now with pretty good law. Okay, now there's VUL, Variable Universal Life. IUL stands for Index Universal Life Insurance. So what index are they referring to? Is the S&P 500. So whenever you hear index annuity or index universal life, it's referring to a stock index. They must have a securities license to sell this product, right? You think they would have to. So an indexed annuity is kind of an arm's length associated with a stock. Okay? So let's say every month your premium for this index universal life policy is $100. And what they're telling you is by putting this money in this policy every month, you're going to save, you're going to build up a savings in this bucket right here. What's great about it is, okay, whenever somebody starts using the word guarantees, okay, like I had a client, that's been a client of mine since the 90s, called me this week. She had an old 403B, she used to teach school in Top County. She lives in South Carolina. But anyway, she was saying to me, someone had talked to her about moving her money from her 403B and was going to get a guaranteed 10% return. She was fixing it, and she had to put money with me. She had like $90,000, and the person that was talking to her about this was telling her she had to have a minimum of $100,000. So she was fixing to take $10,000 out of the investment she had with me, move it with that, so she get the $100,000 and get the guaranteed 10%. I said, Judy, anytime someone's willing to give you a guarantee, you have to pay for that guarantee. No guarantee is ever free. Not ever. And she said, and I asked questions. I said, and she says that the money gets a guaranteed 10%, and it's through Bright House, which I have a license. I do business with Bright House. I can do Bright House products. I said, and I told her that. I said, I have a license to do business with Bright House, and I'm not familiar with any of the product. That sounds fishy to me. We have products that give a 10 or 5% guarantee or 6% guarantee. None pay 10%. So I said, what you need to do is get her to send you a copy of the proposal she sent you. Well, she really didn't even send the client a proposal. She just sent her a note, basically saying, hey, I can get you 10% guarantee. It was trying to get her to move it without getting any kind of proposal, nothing. I said, this is not, if I had written this email, I would get in trouble. Okay, it's legal. You're not allowed to say you can do stuff when you can't produce it. So I said, you need to have her send you a quote. A couple days later, she sent me what the agent sent her, and it wasn't even a proposal, it was just kind of a thing. It basically was her income rider would go up by 10% a year, not that her investment would go up by 10%. Right. And she had to do what's called annuitization. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Okay. So remember the word annuitization. So here's how it works. They talk you into sending them, in this example, $200 a month. Okay? that by putting $200 a month in this policy, you have life insurance, let's say for let's say $200,000. But that's not the main benefit. The main benefit to this policy is that you're saving money in this bucket. And we're going to pay you a guaranteed 6% interest rate by the money that goes in this bucket. For people that save money in savings accounts, 6% sounds pretty good, right? Okay. So they say, okay, you said it's $200 a month, whatever makes it the bucket, we're going to give you a guaranteed 6%. Okay. But on the way to the bucket, there's some fees, so a little bit of money comes out. Okay. So not all the money that you pay in gets to the bucket, but most of the money does that. About 90-some-odd% is in the bucket. But what happens is, when you buy life insurance, there's a risk that you're going to die, right? So the insurance company has to pay for that, has to cover that risk. So how they do it is they sell you term insurance, all life insurance, no matter what the package is on it, is term insurance. Whole life, universal life, all of it is term insurance. Why is it all term insurance? What's the cheapest version of insurance? Term. Okay, all insurance is term insurance. It reinsurers basically sell life insurance wholesale to all the insurance providers, including Primerica. Okay, everybody buys their insurance through reinsurers, and the reinsurers are the ones that hire the actuaries. That's what I'm some actuaries. What's the actuary? You know what an actuary is? An actuary's job is say, if we have 1,000 24-year-olds, how many of the 1,000 24-year-old males are going to die in any one year? Their job is to assess the risk. They assess the risk. And then by assessing the risk, they can put a number on that, which then they can set a price for it. Okay, they know that 1,000 24-year-olds, one's going to die, or whatever. So, and that's how they set the number. And so they do all the work. They have the actuaries. The actuaries are not cheap to hire. They all get paid a lot of money because they're really smart mathematicians, basically. Yeah. So they do it. They say, okay, we can. They have millions of dollars worth of life insurance. They sell to the insurance companies like State Farm, all the other companies you can think of, whatever credentials in the world buy it wholesale term insurance, and they tack on whatever crap they want to tack onto it. Okay, they charge way more money for it, and that's why they can have. That's why they host the halftime NFL talk show. Okay, that's why the skyscrapers in downtown Atlanta have an insurance company on top. That's why, because they make money. You're buying something for pennies and it's selling it for thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Okay, the profit margin is unbelievable, and then you tie crap to it and make it sound even better than it really is. Okay, so and they know that the human beings music to their ears is anytime you say the word guarantee. I guarantee it. Or that something will not change, because human beings don't like change. Say there's nothing's going to change. Well, you're paying for that non-changing thing. Okay? Anytime you don't, everything changes. Right? It's guaranteed to change. But anytime somebody's going to guarantee it won't change, you're paying for that change. Now, variable is a different story.
Okay.
Variable, the term variable, now you are actually buying an investment. Okay? So that's a different talk, and we'll go down that road in a second.
Okay.
So we're paying the $200 a month. It goes through the pipe. Most money makes it a year. You bought $200,000 life insurance. So the insurance company's you have to pay for the risk of you dying. So anyway, every month, to cover your risk of you dying, they have a little dipper here, and they dip out some of the money you have in this bucket to pay for the risk of you dying. Let's say of the $200 you sent in there, 20 of it went to pay for the risk of you dying. Okay? So they did that $20. Never mind. Even though you spent it 200, right? So that means money's building up this bucket, right? But as we get older, what happens? The risk of us dying increases. So this dipper does not say the same. Even though they tell you your premiums will never go up, they're not saying your risk of dying will never go up, because that's what's happening. And it's written in your policy. No one ever reads their policy. Okay? So then, a couple years later, you're 5 years older, 10 years older. Now the dipper's not this size. It's this size. Okay? And then 10 years after that, the dipper is this size. You're still sitting in this number, right? Yeah. And they're a bit different now. Well, so in the early years, a lot of money is building up this bucket. But as we get older, and it's earning interest. But as we get older, the dipper is dipping out more and more money. So the money, this bucket is not earning is not growing at the rate it was before. And if this bucket ever runs out of money, let's say you borrow some money out, or you take some money out for a withdrawal, because they tell you that this is your money. Okay. Well, if you take it out, you're taking money out of the bucket. If this bucket runs out of money, you no longer have any insurance. Their policy will go away, even though you paid every premium on time. Now, let's say it hasn't gone away. Let's say you get your report, and your policy says you have $200,000 in coverage, and your cash value, or the money that's in the bucket, is worth $50,000. So you have a $200,000 policy and $50,000 in the bucket. Now, there's two kinds of policies. There's one kind where if you die, your family gets the 200 only. That's normally known as an A policy. The other one, where the family gets 200 plus the 50, that's known as a B policy. Now, which one would you rather have, the A policy or the B policy? It sounds right. See, here's the problem with this whole thing. No matter what you pick, you lose. You cannot pick a good choice when you own this. Because what's happening in reality is, because you got to think like an insurance company, not like a human being. Okay? So if I'm an insurance company, is it smarter for me, if I sell you a B policy, is it smarter for me to sell you use a little bit more of your money to buy $50,000 more in insurance, keep your money? I'm going to take part of this money that's in this bucket if you buy a B policy, and not sell you $200,000 coverage, but now sell you $250,000 coverage. So you're paying more money for that. Because you get older, that extra insurance is costing more. So in the bucket, your bucket will grow way slower if you own a B policy than if you do an A policy. Well, then you say, okay, then I won't buy a B policy. I'll buy A policy. Well, then if you buy A, then you don't get the $50,000. You only get the $200,000.
So that's
it's like going to Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You don't have a chance to win. Yeah. The house is going to win. So that's how this works. A lot of people think, they changed, what's it known as, some banking, what do they call it? Oh, infinite banking. Infinite banking. Yeah. In my whole career, they never tell you what it really is. They always make up these little words that sound nice. They are now, when you buy an index universal life policy, you're buying an infinite banking program. Okay, so what does that mean? So now what's happened? Let's say you have the $50,000 in this policy. The infinite banking part is they say, okay, hey, you know what's great about this? Is you can take this $50,000 part, all of it, part of it, monthly payments, whatever, off this $50,000, and you never pay any income tax. You can take this out. Yeah, why would you? Can you be taxed on a loss?
No.
Okay, that's why you don't pay taxes.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, if you ever, actually what's happening is you take it out. If I say I'm going to start having you send me $1,000 a month out of this policy, off this $50,000, this is where they call it infinite banking. Well, you can draw $1,000 a month off of this forever. and you pay no tax. Does that sound great? Tax-free, $1,000 a month checks. Will it do that? For how long? About 4 years.
I was gonna say, it might go down.
Okay. What's it doing the whole time though? They're now charging, if you are now, this is being treated as a loan against the policy. So now, after 4.5 years, if you've drawn out, let's say you've drawn out 40,000 of the 50, and you die. How much money would your family get of the $200,000 coverage? Then you're still sending them $200 a month. No reason or policy. The first thing I do when I sit down with a client that has anything that has stuff like this, I say, I'll read your policy. And so what I do is I get their policy and I read it. I go through it with a pencil and I underline all the critical things they need to see that they never read. And so and I put little stars, and then I go back to this thing. No one ever reads their contract, so they can't. The insurance companies can't be accused of lying. The people that normally lie are the agents.
Yeah.
So, but the agent says stuff, they don't write even down. So it's his word against theirs.
Okay.
Right? I never said that. So they don't tell you the truth. Now, why would somebody go to such great lengths to sell this? Well, since now you're selling a product that was bought for pennies for thousands of dollars, the commission on these products are huge.
I was gonna say,
Yeah. Normally, if it's $200 a month, that's $2,400 a year premium, right? So they normally get paid initially at least 55% of the $2,400 up front. So they'll get paid, let's say, at least $1,200 for 30 minutes of talking. And then they get a renewal of 5% of this number for the next 9 years. So if they get another 5%, that's another 5% of that is what? 10% is like 240. So they get another $120, they get another $120 a month, $120 a year on every policy they have stuff. Renewal for the next 10 years. So they make the whole $2,400. And if they sell enough of them, they get bonuses, they get all kinds of stuff that goes along. So it's a profitable product. Because where else can you go talk to somebody for 20 minutes and make $1,200? Yeah, like I said, when I started, Google didn't exist.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, and it was my word against credential.
Yeah.
About life.
Right.
Guardian.
Yeah.
That's another way I do it.
But when for me, it's when they read it and see that gas, I'm not going to pay no more premium because this is saying.
yeah, it's still, yeah.
Same thing how you explain the budget, there won't be enough money. The number, they're going to say you want to pay $3,000 to catch it up.
That's crazy.
It works for me.
It's not worth it.
They used to put a table in the policy that would show you at what point it would lapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they don't put that table in there?
They don't put that table.
Yeah, some wouldn't have that in
Oh,
there. There were some policies that were honest. Cotton States, I think, was one of them. That's another one that's sold crap. Cotton State, that right down the bottom, it'd say, even though you pay your premiums and policy, it would still have to be a little fair.
Yeah.
In them all.
You know why it's not in there?
That's crazy.
The insurance commissioner is the one that sets the rules. What did the insurance do is in his career before he became an insurance commissioner? He was a life insurance agent, whole life. That's why when you take your life insurance license, you got to think like a life insurance agent when you take the test. Because some of the answers you give are not the right answer.
It's not the right answer.
You have to think like a whole life agent.
I was telling
Because they call whole life insurance permanent. That was in 1990s.
you, the whole life insurance. And they take
He
the
had
congressional report before the rip out. And everybody's angry and all Congress are going to do something about this. And the insurance law is.
Also on the way.
And now the FTC is legally forbidden to invest in insurance.
IUL is Index Universal Life. The one that you have to have a security license to sell is VUL,
Right, with the line.
Variable Universal Life. And basically, there's a mutual fund associated, like a variable annuity. So you do have to have a license securities license to sell this product. In the state of Georgia, you have to have a life and health license. You have to have a annuity license, and you have a securities license. Okay, now, on a VUL, instead of getting the guaranteed 6%, you're putting your money in S&P 500 mutual funds and things like that. So they're going to tell you you're going to make a 10 or 12% interest return on the money in the bucket. But that's the good news. The bad news is the insured, you, whoever buys the policy, bears all the risk. So if the market gets slammed, like it did in 2008, 2009, and loses 40% in any one year, okay, then that means this cash value went way down, right? But they're still dipping money out.
Yeah.
So let's say you had in here cash value 50,000, and it went down 40% to 30,000, and they're still dipping money out. That means this policy is going to lapse faster.
There's almost nothing possible.
It'll lapse faster. It'll be gone in no time. That's what's happening in the state of Georgia's pension system, the teacher's pension.
Oh, that's what's going on with that
Yeah.
pension.
The Georgia teacher's pension is $14 billion in the hole for this reason. Okay, because what happened is they were supposed to be putting money in the pension system, and they were. And some of the money that goes in pensions, in the pension, comes from property taxes. Okay, so what happened to property values in 2008, 2009?
And what you know,
2008, 2009, what happened to property values?
they went down.
Okay, so were they collecting less in taxes or more in taxes?
Less.
So not only did the value of the pension go down by 40%, they also were collecting less taxes money to the tax system, and there were more teachers going ahead and retiring.
That came out.
So what happened is there's all this, and the money went way down, and so it still has not recovered. There's more. They're $14 billion in the hole. The state of Georgia teachers' pension system. $14 billion.
Oh,
But no one ever reads their state reports, and so they think it's doing great. But you're a blasphemous if you tell them that it's in danger of being going away.
okay.
But here's how you show them. Before she draws her first pension check, you can help her.
Oh.
Once she draws her first pension check, that's it.
Oh, after you draw that, there's no more.
Yeah, let's say you're retiring this year, teachers. Let's say in February you sign and say, I'm retiring. The first paycheck in June is your retirement check. Okay. Once you draw that first check, you can't change it. But now let's say, because what most teachers will do is they'll say, hey, they normally have a couple ways to go to retire. They're told, let's say they make $60,000 a year as a teacher. They get 60% of their best 2 years.
With their best 2 years.
If they have at least 30 years in teaching.
Okay.
So let's say they have 30 years teaching. 60% of 60,000 is 36,000. So they're going to get $3,000 a month pension. Okay. So that's if they choose the option A choice,
Okay.
which is for as long as they live.
Okay.
Okay. Now there's another choice that most of them pick. If they're married, they'll do option B2. B2 is they get less than $3,000 a month. Let's say $2,500.
Okay.
If they die, then their husbands would get half of what they're getting, $1,250.
Yeah, their husband would get half.
Yes. So they get $1,250 for this alliance. If you go to the publication they put out every year, which no one ever reads. Okay. We'll go on here in a second. Once you go find the Georgia TRS section, right? My wife's whole family are retired teachers. And I remember telling my father-in-law is the most, he's the most subdued person you'll ever come across. Okay. So I'm a type A excitable person. We've done many building projects together. And if there's something fixed to fall down, or whatever, I get excited, right? He acts like there's nothing happened. Okay, so,
Oh, my God.
so, which is great, but he doesn't react like I do.
Okay.
And I remember telling Roger one time, we were riding down the road, going somewhere one time, and I told him, I said, your pension is in trouble of going bankrupt. And he got upset, you know. Okay. Oh, we had somebody from the teachers union come and talk to us at a luncheon. What do you think they're gonna take? Okay, they're gonna tell you whatever, that's not truth, okay? So, they have the, now, if you go to retire as a teacher, they allow you to go to a workshop where you can learn about your pension. Okay, so it's open to the public. So I've gone with many of my clients to these meetings. Okay, and so they tell lies in these meetings. I'll tell you that. First of all, let me tell you what they always send somebody that's like 30. Okay, okay, to talk about it. Okay, and I'm saying, I don't say this, but I'm thinking about how many years experience do you have in understanding finance? Okay, number two, they'll make a statement, your pension is not associated with the stock market. That is a bold-faced lie.
Because it is.
It is the stock market. It's in stocks, bonds, and foreign currencies. That's where your money's being invested. In this Georgia's pension. Okay. You know how I know that? It's in the publication that no one ever reads.
Fine print.
It's not even fine.
It's not even fine.
It's bold, but you can see all
You gotta
exactly
read it.
what's invested. And all the teachers are sent the publication, but no one ever reads it. So you don't have to be an expert. I'm not making this stuff up. It's in the report.
Okay.
Okay, but the problem is no one ever reads the report. And it's sent, and so we're going to go to the publication here in a minute, and I'll show it to you. But one of the options that teachers have is they can do what's called a PLOP, partial lump sum option plan.
Okay, partial, yes.
Okay, now, how that works is, let's say you're going to get $3,000 a month pension. You can take 3 years of your benefit and roll it into an IRA up front. Now, once you draw your first pension check, you can't do that. You have to do it, even if you sign the form saying you wanted something else. As long as you have not received a check, you can change it. So once you get that first check, you cannot change it. So she can draw 3 years of benefit and put it in an IRA. Okay, why is that important? Okay, so let's go back to the A and B choice. On the A choice, let's say she retires, and 2 years from now, she's killed in a car accident. She paid into the system 30 years. How much money does her family get?
They should get every dime if she's got a good wisdom.
They will get her over. Again, it's in 2 years, you use up. She did, but it takes 2 years to use up all the money you paid into it. And even if she did get, let's say she died the next day. You know how much her family get?
All of it.
Well, how much is that? About $20,000. Here's the deal. Most of the money that's in the pension that the pension will pay did not come from the contributor. It came from the county and it came from taxes. So that's why it'll pay what if she retires for $3,000 a month for 20 years, it's gonna pay out way more than what she put into it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why they only pay the beneficiaries what she put in. But it takes 2 years to use up what she put in.
What she put it in. Okay.
So after 2 years, they would get $0.
Whoa.
Okay. Now you said, well, now where she picked her husband is she picked the B2 choice, where he gets 50%. Okay. So let's say a year later she dies and he gets 50% for the rest of his life, right? Well, what if he's killed, dies of cancer next year? How much does the kids get?
All of it.
0. But now you said, why would you want, okay, now let's say you do the PLOP, partial lump sum. Okay, you take 3 years benefit, rolls into an IRA. Okay, let's say your pension was going to be about $3,000 a month.
Okay.
By doing that, you're rolling $144,000, $108,000, what is it? So your $108,000, $144,000 goes into an IRA.
Okay.
You lose about $6 to $7 per thousand pension benefit. Okay, so you lose about $700, $800 a month pension. So instead of getting $3,000 a month, you're gonna get more like 28, 22 months.
Okay.
Okay? So you say, well, why would I wanna do this? Anything that can give me an $800 a month for my pension out, $800 a month? Because now, if you have that money sitting in the IRA, you can take a monthly check off the money sitting in the IRA to make up the difference.
Okay, make up the difference.
Now, it doesn't make up 100%, it makes up a big percentage.
Okay.
Most of it. But here's the thing. Over the years, eventually, this will pay more than her pension.
The IRA.
I have many clients that are getting way more money from their PLOP money than they're getting from their pension. And if they die, what happens to the money in the IRA? Where does it go? It doesn't go to strangers.
Right. And the kid's contented.
Yeah, so, okay.
Right, it goes to whoever you want. Right, because what's happening really is if you die too soon in the TRS system, they give your money to strangers. They give it to other teachers that live longer, right?
Oh,
So you're not giving it, instead of giving them your money that you worked all these years for to your family, you're giving it to strangers.
The benefits that I ran for myself,
Yeah, okay,
just before I retired,
Yeah.
I was a computer tech.
Okay.
so this is a smaller number, but, so you can see,
I worked there 17 years.
so you can see he only worked for 17 years, but
17.
this shows you the little thing they give you. So you see the PLOP maximum,
Okay.
so that shows that he could roll 46,000 into an IRA, and that would reduce. Can you look down a little bit? So you can see here's option A choice,
Okay.
1301, option B2 pop up.
Mm-hmm.
So it reduces about $100 a month. But you can see where it says PLOP reduction,
Mm-hmm.
it reduces by $7 a thousand.
For every thousand I took, they took $7.51 out of my pension.
Okay.
So multiply that by 46.
Mhm.
It wasn't big, but.
No.
TRS talks to teachers out of taking the PLOP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
They'll do everything they can to
They
keep
keep
from
them
doing
from taking that.
it. Yeah.
Now there are
Because because their program is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you put your money in the IRA is not guaranteed. So they throw that in as well. But except for you're guaranteed to have that money go to somewhere else other than strangers. Is this the most current one?
Yeah, this is as of
2023.
yeah,
Okay.
which is the current gets right now.
Yeah, they're always slightly behind. Who's ever taken accounting in college? See, this is where they're jerking you around a little bit. Okay, if I said I had an actuarial amount of $75,000 in my wallet, okay, I have an actuarial amount of $75,000 in my wallet. Does that mean I have $75,000 in my wallet?
No.
What does it mean? What actuarial value means is we anticipate. I anticipate to have $75,000 in my wallet. I may not have $75,000, but I anticipate.
Okay.
And because I anticipate it, I'm going to count it.
Okay.
It's not like Shark Tank.
Okay. I'm going to count that I have $75,000 in my wallet when I really do not. Okay. Because I'm assuming I'm going to get $75,000. Okay.
Okay.
But even with that, my actuarial liability is $96,000. So I subtract what actuarial value I say I have from what I actually owe based on how many teachers and everybody else out there what I'm paying out. Then my actuarial unfunded liability is $21,880,000, and right now 77.4% of what I owe is I have. That means
What they're showing there is in thousands of dollars.
yeah. So I'm $21.880 billion short of what I need to pay out
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
The latest numbers at the bottom.
Yeah. So now, it is 27. It's grown that much. This number has more than doubled. Because when I started doing it, it was 13 billion. Now it's 27 billion.
Almost 28.
Yeah. Wow, that's shocking. Okay, so now, and that says 23, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so now they're $27.6 billion in the hole. They're 78.2% funded. Okay, so there. Do you think that's a problem? If you're expected to pay out $126,000, but you only have $99,000, you got a problem?
Huge.
So this number keeps getting bigger. Wow, I can't believe it's doubled as much as that.
That's something.
First of all, the state of Georgia is not the worst state.
No, it's going to be
Kentucky,
What?
Yeah. I would say
38% funded.
that or Mississippi or
Well,
something.
last time, no, you can Google it. Last time I looked at Kentucky, they were 38% funded. Arizona is like 61% funded. Okay, they're worse than us too. But nearly all the states in the nation look like this. So, and what happens is the state of Georgia has put in, the governors of Georgia have put in 250 million many times, 300 million to try to shore it up. They keep throwing hundreds of millions of dollars every year into it to try to shore it up. But it's a sinking ship. You cannot keep this thing from sinking. Okay. So when you sit down with a teacher and you tell them your pension is not as in good shape as you think it is, they want to argue with you. Because, yeah, they were talking about put up with these brats for 30 years, I'm going to get X, Y, Z dollars, right?
Oh.
But the fact is, you put up all these brats, you may not be all right. Because it could run out of money. So that's another reason why, if your clients do a PLOP and they put it in an IRA, and it does have a problem, at least they have the money in the IRA, right? Otherwise, if they don't do the PLOP, they'd have nothing.
We're gonna do it with my aunt who's retiring from the GBI and her pension too.
Yeah, that's Georgia, and she's under ERS. Now, what's funny is, if you go to Georgia ERS, Employee Retirement System, all of them are underwater except for the judges, and the senators and the legislators.
So everything
They're
else.
over 100% funded.
they're fully.
But the DOT underwater, teachers underwater, GBI underwater. But the legislators and the judges are fully funded.
I wonder why.
Isn't that shocking? Aren't you amazed? That's a financial miracle.
Oh, but everybody else is, oh my God.
That is correct. Now,
You know how you find this out? It's public information.
it is. Can I show you where I found this? Okay. If you go to trsga.com, in the middle here, at the top, it says newsroom, and you come down to publications, and
Okay, yeah, open the publication.
scroll down here, and what I got that is actuary valuation, June 30th, 2020.
Yeah, but I'll go down to the annual report.
Yes, sir.
See how great everything is to make a teacher.
Smile.
This young lady's talking to this guy, and then this teacher is talking to her little student who's talking about recycling in the background. And he's a nice Asian guy. He's happy. He's getting close to retire because he's got gray hair, but he's happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go down. Everything's sweet. Everything's nice. He's excited. He's a new teacher.
He got his teeth whitened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so where's the assets? This assets right there, page 9.
Page 9.
Looks like it.
System asset.
Okay, so here it shows you right here on this first page. Okay, what's an equity? Is it a stock or a bond? Say stock. Okay, that's stock. What's a fixed income investment?
That's the box.
That's a bond. Okay,
Big time.
and then we got private equity. What's other? Currencies.
Okay, cool.
Okay, keep going.
Yes, sir.
How many people know how to read this? Okay, I take accounting. I can. Okay, and by the way, I tell all my kids, if you become a welder, like I got 2 black belts. One's a welder and one's a plumber. I said, you need to go to college, go to one of these Georgia, whatever, and take 2 semesters of accounting. You need to learn how to read a balance sheet and an income statement. Everybody needs to learn how to read an income statement and a balance sheet. Because if you're going to run a business, you need to know how those work.
My CPA son-in-law, great guy. If all else fails, go down to the bookstore and buy Accounting for Dummies. That'll get you basic.
Yeah, but you can go down here and in 6 months, get enough accounting that you'll understand what this is. Okay? This is crucial. No one knows how to read income statements or balance sheets. Okay, go to the next page.
Yes, sir.
So that's a balance sheet. So here you can see we have equities, we have international, we have domestic U.S., international treasuries, corporate bonds, corporate real estate. Keep going. Yeah, where the money comes from, employer contribution,
Yep.
non-employee contributions, member contributions, and net income, investment income. But you're told your money is not in the stock market by these guys. Okay, that's what they're telling you. Your pension is not associated with the stock market. Now, here's where they're not telling you the whole story. At the end of the day, when you start drawing your pension, you're not in the stock market anymore. Okay, so they didn't throw that sentence in anymore. So up until you retire, you are. The day after you retire, you're an annuitant. So here's the currency. So you're buying Australian dollars, Brazilian real, Canadian dollars, pesos, crowns, all that. Is that? Do you believe do you believe there are foreign currencies in this pension? Yes or no?
Yes, everything.
Possibly, yeah.
If they're listing them, if they're listing how much they own, do you believe that they're in there? The next page. It has in there every stock you own, every bond they own, what the return has been, everything. Okay, it's in here. Okay,
So they are-
investment over right here. Okay, so here we go. So you can see the equities now. Equities in this portfolio. That's what the S&P 1500's done. This is this equities. Okay, you're doing. So you can see in this portfolio, the 20-year average is 8.82%. They've done all right. 3-year average is 5.7. Okay, you can see their bonds, what they make. Go down some more. Total return. Go down. So they're only averaging about 8.41 return, which is not too bad. But do you believe there are stocks and bonds in your portfolio? But they're telling you your money is not associated with the stock market.
Here's your top 20.
Oh yeah, here's your stocks you're on. Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple, Google, Amazon, Facebook. Is this aggressive or not aggressive? This is aggressive.
That's pretty aggressive.
Okay. So your pension is invested in aggressive stuff. Did this just get hit by 30%? Yes, it did. Okay. But your money is not associated with the stock market. The point is, this is what teachers are told. Every state employee knows. They all have the same stuff. They're not being told the truth about exactly how it works. They're not even told about PLOP as being an option. And if you just bring it up, they're going to talk you out of it. You know why they talk you out of it? Because you're pulling out $120,000 that they would otherwise would not have to pay out. Right now, Florida though would pay you a way larger amount. Exactly. They don't pay you. See, there's a lot of people from America that make over $1 million a year doing this in Florida because they're not getting like my average PLOP size is 120 to 140,000. The average PLOP size in Florida is about $1 million, $2 million. Way longer. Because they're paying you. You have an option when you retire in the state of Florida. Let's say your pension's $3,000 a month, and they predict you're going to live 20 years. You can take all that money up front and roll it over into an IRA.
Okay.
So you get paid a lot of money. It goes back to what I said earlier in this business. The key to this business is our job is to sit down with the client and explain to them what they have and how it works, and what they need to change, and what they need to keep safe. And then we have a plan on how to fix it. So let's use the example I used earlier. I used a $200,000 policy, right? We were paying $200 a month for it, right? Okay, so what if, what do we do that's different? So what we would do, instead of paying $200 a month for a $200,000 policy, most of our clients are in their, when I first started out, 20s and 30s. So for $50 a month, they could buy a $200,000 policy, or better, probably more than that, say $250,000. So what would we do? We'd take the $150,000, go to morning, let's go to high club. And we could take that money and invest the $150,000. And we could do this for 30 years. It's pretty much stay the same for 30 years. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the $150 and not put the life insurance and invest it on the person. Let's see what will happen. So let's invest $150 a month for 30 years in, or as long as we can in the VADA.
Yes.
Mutual fund, one, VADAX, is that right?
Yeah, VADA,
How much time you put on this?
earliest available.
Fine.
What you should, oh, okay, yeah, now go to buy, sell. Okay, so now, how much money would you have if you took the $150 difference? You'd have $608,581. So now, you pay $50 a month for a $250,000 policy, right? If you took the difference and invested $150 a month in a mutual fund instead, so now if you die, how much money does your family get? 250 plus 600, whatever, right?
Yeah, they.
What if you decide you needed $50,000 out of your account? Does that pull down your life insurance value? Is it a loan?
It's your money.
In 30 years, would you need more life insurance? Why? Because now you got 3 times more money to cover
Yeah, you cover.
cash than you had in life insurance. So why do you need life insurance?
It was.
You don't.
I don't have it.
The objective is not to need life insurance. The whole life industry wants you to need life insurance your whole life. That's how they stay in business. If everyone had $1 million or $2 million in their account, would anyone need life insurance?
No.
So you don't need life insurance. You paid $50, $100, same amount of money went in, right? Now you have way more coverage, way more money than you would have ever had in life insurance policy.
Now, Colleen, how much of the presentation I did from earlier did I show you how, without spending any more money than you already spending, you will be fine? We don't generally get more money out of people. We show them how to keep doing what you're doing. Just put it in a different pocket, don't throw it down the drain.
Yep. So that's the deal. We're trying to get people out of the way. So the bottom line is we need to go see more people. How many people need to know this stuff?
Everybody.
But every person you have to talk to, they're still a retired broker. And they're going to say, wow, I wish you would have told me.
Yeah.
Where were you at when I was 30?
People need to know this stuff. You need to talk to people and give them an opportunity to say no.
Yeah. Some will.
If they want to keep IUL policies, that's their choice. What you have is perfect for you.
If you ask 15 people a week for an appointment, 8 of them will say yes. 5 will actually see you. Out of the 5 you see, and if they're in the right market, 3 of them are going to do business with you. And 1 of them will sign on as you recruit. 15, 8, 5, 3, 1. But, and this is the punchline, Michael said, if you can call 15 people a week for 18 months, you'll be a regional vice president making $100,000. And you don't have to think of 15 fresh people, because out of 15 people who said, 7 who said no, some of them are going to say, well, I'm busy this week, and you call them next week. And those 3 who faked out on you, you call them back. and Michael tells a story about, some people just say no, and Michael doesn't take no. He goes, listen, okay, I understand now it's not a good time, but things change. Would it be all right if I call you in about 3 months? And most of them will say, sure. So he's going to put it in his calendar. He's going to call him in 3